Sometimes you just get lost in the music. What's up, Victoria? It's me, Victoria. I don't know if you can feel the way that I'm feeling myself, but I am feeling myself. I'm gonna ask you to close your eyes, go into your imaginary mind time machine, and travel back with me to the year 2017. A couple of months ago, I did a video where I talked about the best makeup of 2016 and looked at a bunch of beauty tubers' favorites of 2016 videos, and we just kind of like reminisced about the best makeup of 2016. So this video, I went through the best and the worst of 2017 to just kind of talk about and bring up some iconic products from the year and to talk about whether or not I think those products are good. Would they stand the test of time? Do they still exist? And so for some of those questions, I don't actually know the answer, but I think it's a fun discussion to have. But if you are new to my channel, hi, thank you for clicking on the video. I would love for you to hit the subscribe button down below. I really like to be reflective about makeup, and I think that helps me make better purchases of makeup in the future, and I think it's a good practice. And this is definitely like more like a walk down memory lane than it is like really being focused about like what works for me and what doesn't, but it's still very fun. So I would love for you to stick around if this is the kind of thing that you're into. I'll have a pinned comment. In the pinned comment will be links to directly support people in Gaza. If you have additional funds, please support those people. I think that's all I got for you. So let's jump into it. I'm feeling very disco queen today. I love the makeup I did. Oh, and I just did my nails. Oh, I'm getting out of my time machine. It's 2017. Here's where I'm at in the world of makeup. I just got into makeup the year prior. 2016 was like my entry point into makeup. I learned how to do drag makeup for Halloween, and I really loved the practice of putting on makeup. So I just continued to do it as like something I really liked to do. And my skill set wasn't very good, but in 2017, I believe I started this YouTube channel. It was different back then, and a lot of the videos that I did back then are privated. A lot of the videos I was posting at the time were a lot of what like other people were doing in that time, so just like trying to sell you things, which is really funny because I wasn't really making any money on YouTube, and I was using affiliate links, but I didn't have enough people to buy through my affiliate links for it to even be worth it. And even to this day, affiliate linking does not make me much at all. It just makes me very little money. So it's like one of those things. It's like I don't know what I thought I was doing, so I was like going into debt buying makeup to talk about it, to sell it to you, to sell makeup to you, to get you to buy more makeup, which is such a crazy thing. If you are someone who wants to do makeup reviewing and you don't have a following and you're not already independently wealthy, that's a very expensive hobby to take up, to just to review new makeup and talk about it. And it can be lucrative if you are getting like your return on investment, but like even at the size I'm at now, if I buy a piece of makeup, very often the video I talk about that makeup in does not make me the money back for the makeup that I purchased for that video. It's just one of those things. Anyway, just brief YouTuber aside, I was like really into eyeshadow. I feel like eyeshadow was still like reigning supreme. Liquid lipsticks was still reigning supreme. I'm trying to think of like what my favorite makeup would have been. I didn't look to see if I did a best of 2017 video. I don't know if I kept up with makeup because at the end of 2017 I lost my job, and then I tried to post on YouTube more, and then I burnt myself out. Imagine that. It also feels like an iconic time, and I think like Gooch just did a video. I haven't watched it all the way through yet. I like started it and then I got distracted and I wanted to focus on it, so I need to go back to that. Kelly, sorry I didn't finish it. I did watch the intro, and she was like, we always talk about 2016 as an iconic makeup year. Why don't we think about 2017 and 2018 as iconic makeup years where the makeup was pretty similar? I would say like that 2016 trend of makeup with the like sharp eyebrows on fleek didn't really die until the pandemic. We were maybe starting to like head towards more like what we now call clean girl makeup, glowy skin, easy makeup, less eyeshadow, we moved into like feathered eyebrows where we were just pushing the eyebrow hairs straight up. So you like think about the makeup that was coming out at the time, it was like servicing that. But I did go through a bunch of beauty tubers, and I only really go through large beauty tubers reviews just because they tend to like have more access to makeup than the rest of us do. So just like to see what they were talking about. And I was trying to remember if I like watched a lot of YouTube at the time. If I was making YouTube content, I imagine I was watching some, but I feel like I really didn't start watching YouTube until like 2021. Like that was like when I really started watching it. But I did watch some Tati back in the day. Tati was my main girl. Like I don't really remember watching other people. I wasn't like a Jeffree Star stan. I didn't really watch Manny, but that was probably something about like being a boy in beauty. And I never really got into James Charles, but removing all of the things that James Charles does and has done and continues to do, I think I never really like landed and connected with him because he was just younger. It's like a lot younger than I am. I never really cared for like the content he made. I know I was watching like Laura Mae Beauty at the time, but I don't remember like who else I would have followed. I definitely was still watching Stephanie Nicole. She was still pretty relevant at this time. And yeah, I think that's like where I was at. So like, I don't really remember a lot of the launches. Like nothing really sticks out to me. When I was going through the things that people were talking about, good or bad, there were like a few huge standouts. Like we're going to talk about a palette today that like everyone's going to be like, oh yeah, of course we're going to talk about that palette. A lot of it was just kind of like dodgy. Like I don't like it. Just like a lot of people were talking about at their end of the year favorites, a lot of things that had come out in 2016 or earlier. Like they were just talking about old products. So maybe it wasn't as an exciting of year of makeup, but I think we have some meat to talk about. There's some, it's 7 minutes in. Of course, I've been filming for 7 minutes, but I haven't even started doing what I said I was going to do. Something that stuck out to me in people's favorites was like, it was never like a consistent answer, but I believe that this was the year that ColourPop started making powder eyeshadows. I feel like ColourPop, and I may be misremembering this, but before the powder eyeshadows, they just did the Super Shock eyeshadows and the liquid lipsticks. And I don't know if they did the Super Shock highlighters or blushes at that point. I know that they make those, but I don't know if those existed at that time or if that was something that came after. If you are more new to the makeup scene, and especially if you were like in the makeup world in like 2021, ColourPop at one point was releasing stuff like every week and maybe multiple collections every week, and it was just like absolute madness. It was like they were the only people like during the pandemic and immediately after the pandemic that like had collection after collection coming, where it seemed to slow everything else down a lot more than I don't know what ColourPop was doing, but that may be the only perception that you have of them. I don't know how often they released new Super Shock eyeshadows. Like I don't remember that, but whenever they launched the powder eyeshadows, I think that they were single pans and like you could buy like the 5 pan strips and like you might have gotten a discount, but a lot of people listed their eyeshadows. Was it like the Yes Please palette was like their first color story that they put together, and then there was another color story that they released not long after that, and I don't know, it didn't feel as fast, but maybe it was fast and like everyone else was just releasing stuff just as frequently. But like I remember them doing some collabs, but like it didn't seem like there was that much ColourPop powder eyeshadow to be had based on like what was in people's favorites and fails videos of 2017. I found that pretty interesting. Like it's just like to think about just a world where ColourPop was not releasing like eyeshadow palettes like once a week, twice a week. Like just to think about there was a time where there was just simply wasn't powder eyeshadow coming from ColourPop. That is wild. But just think of just like take a beat. Like that's a different time. I think that's pretty interesting, and it was exciting because they did sell single eyeshadows. I don't think they do. Like, do they? I know that some of their eyeshadows are magnetic and you can take some of the pans out. I don't think they sell them as singles. Makeup Geek was really relevant. The MAC single eyeshadows were really relevant, still kind of like rolling over. So this felt like a good move, and I feel like these were much more cost effective than buying something from MAC or even Makeup Geek. Like, it was just a much more cost effective way to buy eyeshadows. If I recall correctly, the eyeshadows were kind of hit or miss. Oh, I don't know if I've ever used a ColourPop powder eyeshadow. I think actually I don't recall. For some reason, I don't think I did. At the end of 2017, I started working at Sephora. A lot of my makeup knowledge from this time would be like stuff that would have come to Sephora specifically, because I feel like once I stopped doing YouTube at the end of 2017, I was like not watching YouTube. One of my first attempts to like stop buying stuff because I like was unemployed was to like not watch beauty content, because it does definitely like tempt you, especially if you're watching people talk about new makeup releases and that's like all the content that they do. So I was like, I gotta go away. ColourPop did come to Sephora briefly. I don't know all of the details, but there was like a moment where ColourPop was trying to figure out what retailer it wanted to move into, and Ulta clearly won that. I had some Super Shock shadows like in 2016, 2017. And then I feel like they started evolving from there. I saw some other people talk about some other things that ColourPop had released. So like this was just kind of like the beginning of the expansion of ColourPop. Even though it was 2017, when that feels like a long time ago, it still wasn't that long ago. Just to think of the like behemoth that ColourPop has become. Because I feel like I remember when I got into makeup, it was like ColourPop was like everyone's like, if you want to save some money and buy some really beautiful eyeshadows, you want to go to ColourPop. And it was like, oh, I didn't know, but now I know. I wasn't even in retailers at the time. I don't know when they moved into Ulta. Like, I don't know if that was 2018, but in 2017, ColourPop had some like small collection in Sephora. And I just remember people asking for it a lot. I was only working the registers at that time. So I'm just taking this time to talk about me, actually. one of two iconic palettes that I want to talk about with you. That's Sweet Peach palette, which was very well received. I recall being like hard to get and like people had to wait in line. I think there was a whole collection because I saw some people talking about some other things from the Sweet Peach collection, but I don't think it was like its own subcategory yet. Too Faced, when I worked at Sephora, had an end cap at one point that was like all of the Sweet Peach. Like there was a Sweet Peach foundation and a powder and like a bunch of stuff in that collection that all smelled like peaches. And a lot of people liked a lot of the stuff from that collection, but I don't think that they had done that yet. I think there was like a Sweet Peach. Maybe this was like the relaunch of the Sweet Peach palette. I just remember like the original launch of the Sweet Peach palette. It was like really hard to get. People really loved it. They relaunched it. And maybe this was the relaunch year, but this was like a very popular thing. People really wanted it for a really long time. I was always against Too Faced, so I never really gave them the time of day. And it wasn't really because of my knowledge of like Jared Blandino. I like never really understood the branding. I think the ladies over at Beauty News talked about this quite a bit. They were like overtly sexy, but then like childish as well. And it's like, what are you even trying to be? And I think that like really resonated with me at the time. And I also feel like perhaps there was controversies with Too Faced back then, and I'm sure there were. The vibe of Too Faced was like not it for me, so I didn't really pay attention to it. So whenever they released this, I was like kind of whatever. And I have an intense hatred of scented eyeshadow. I don't really want any of my products to be scented, and I know that some people find it fun. Whatever you want to do, whatever you want to buy, like that's totally fine. But there was something that felt inherently childish about like purposefully sweetly scented makeup that like just like didn't sit right with me. And it's not that I don't know that they had any ill intent. It's just like, why put something in there if you don't have to? Perhaps, I don't know this. Maybe if they didn't scent it, it would smell absolutely wretched, and that is why it smells like Sweet Peach. Because I feel the same way about Tarte eyeshadows, which smell like sweet cocoa-y. Why does it have to smell like that? Will your formula smell gross if it doesn't? I don't know, but I always hated that. I wouldn't have been interested in this, and like I don't feel compelled to be retroactively interested in this. I just remember it being very popular, very buzzy. Their thing was kind of like, here's a concept, and then it would be like neutrals with like a pop. This was the time where we like were calling very warm things neutral. This is a palette that we would have called like a basic neutral palette, and it would have sold very well. It's not too far off of like what was going on in the Modern Renaissance palette, which was super popular the year prior. I see why this had a lot of appeal. What I wish content creators, I guess, would have talked about at the time, like beauty content creators, if you have something that's close to this, then you don't need it. But like that wasn't the way like things were operating at the time. There was like a very few handful of people that were popular enough to like combat this, to be like, you probably already have this. Like it was a much smaller voices. I feel like more recently, the era of content creators who are like bubbling up right now, I guess I would include myself in this, are like people who are interested in trying new makeup and like aren't always concerned about buying something that is similar to it. But I think we're just much more conscious about it, especially people who were on YouTube at this time and are still watching beauty YouTube content at this time. There's just something about like just like the way the tempo has changed. It's been a big change, because I also did clock whenever I was looking at these favorites videos from the era, all of them had more than 1 million views, which is so bananas to think about. Even some of those content creators now couldn't pull 1 million views if no matter how hard they tried. I feel like everyone finds a niche. Like I know, like, I'm not subscribed to Manning, but like his videos pop up as my recommended sometimes. And it's always him spending $500 somewhere. $500 full face of makeup at Ross, at Marshall's. That's what he's doing now. But like, if he did, like, he probably still does favorites videos at the end of every year, but like, they're not pulling in 1 million views. I'm just using him as an example, not saying that he's been publicly viewed very well the whole time he's been relevant. And then there's like people on TikTok who can get 1 million views, but what is 1 million views on TikTok for? Like what? Like, you know, what's the conversion rate there? Like, how valuable is that? I don't know. Is makeup content really getting that many views on TikTok? And I'm on TikTok and I follow some beauty people on TikTok. I feel like the way that people get popular in the makeup world is like they do a really cool look and they have a really good quick editing style. I've lost the plot. I'm not talking about the Sweet Peach palette, but I was talking about how there's just like my favorites videos do better than a lot of my other video content, but it's just like, I mean, I don't think I'll ever get a million views on a video. Honestly, God willing, I hope I never get a million views. Staying on Too Faced, they also released these heart-shaped highlighters, and they did so bad. I specifically remember Laura May Beauty trying these, and she actually liked them. And I'm wondering how if this highlighter formula came out now, if it would fare a little bit better, because we are not as like into the highlighter world. Like, I have highlighter on today, but it's like dispersed, and it's like you can't like there's a glow there, but it's not like just like leaping out at you. And I feel like these highlighters, like these heart-shaped highlighters from Too Faced, were kind of more like this kind of highlight. And it's like I might have liked it now, but 2017 era, we were still into like the just streaks going up your cheek. I was scrolling on TikTok for a little bit the other day, and I came across someone doing their makeup. They were putting on intense highlighter, like a 2017 highlighter. So they were putting on the highlighter, and I was like, just stayed around for a second, because in case you don't use TikTok, it's really easy to accidentally switch to scrolling through people's lives rather than scrolling through just like TikToks. That's what I had done. So I was on this person's TikTok live while they were doing their makeup. It was a really blinding, like, silver highlight. One of the commenters, like someone who was like in the live chat, commented like, "Oh, I can tell there's like a cast of that, like it's like when you're looking forward, it doesn't look really organic on the cheek," which of course you don't have to want your makeup to look organic on the cheek, but I feel like this person was like in real time realizing, like they were like, I don't know if I like that. And it was very funny to me, because I feel like this was the kind of conversations we were having on YouTube in 2017. It's just really so funny to watch, like, just like the exact same thing happen on TikTok. I mean, it's funny, but it's like, we can't stop them. You can't tell people younger than you not to do something, because then they'll be like, you don't know better than me. And then they will follow the exact same steps. Different casting for them. Anyway, it was just very funny. So I just wonder, this highlighter, I wonder if it would do better now. Although I don't know that people are turning to Too Faced for like natural makeup. What does Too Faced do successfully? Quickly. Like, I actually don't know. They reformulated their foundation, and it was a really popular foundation. I never used it. The only thing from Too Faced that I ever loved, and I only tried it because my coworker told me to try it, was the concealer. When I was still doing a lot of full coverage makeup, it was the Born This Way concealer, and it was really good. I don't know if I would like it now. I haven't had it in a couple of years, but like, it was really good. It was actually so good that I bought a backup of it. My preferences changed before I even opened the backup, so I just gave it to someone else. But I bought a backup before I left Sephora. Like, when I left Sephora, I was like, okay, I need a backup. What am I gonna do in my life without it? And now I don't even wear anything like that anymore. I don't know what Milk was up to at this time. Milk has been through a couple of iterations, and I think we're like morphing into like her next gen. I think it is that they really haven't settled on like a thing TM, a thing trademark for them to be like relevant for. They have things go viral every now and then. So like, was that last year that they released the jelly blush sticks? Like, in 2016, I feel like they had the holographic highlighters. Milk at this time, I feel it was, everything came in a stick, a serum stick. Everything came in a stick. Sticks, and like big sticks. And now their full-size sticks are like this big, they're so small. But also, in full fairness, like, going through a product that the size that they used to sell was like, who was, even if you were using it every day. I know that a lot of people had to eventually throw out their like big stick. Like, this must have been the iteration. But I had a lipstick. They had a line of these like metallic lipsticks. They were liquid lipsticks, and it came out in a click paintbrush, if I'm recalling correctly, because they had a weird applicator, and I think that's what they came in. And all of the shades of the lipsticks were like Buffy character names. So like, this is so weird to think about now, because it's like, I know they don't have those anymore. One thing that was on a lot of people's end of the year list was the Milk Blur stick. And the only reason I'm bringing this up is because if you watched my channel any amount of time, I love Blur. Give me some Blur. I don't know if I've ever tried it. I think there was like a strong desire for me to try it, but I think the thing about Milk at this time is like, it wasn't like verified. I don't know how to describe it. Like, it wasn't like, and I still feel like this is kind of relevant to this day. It's like everything they release is like a hit or an absolute miss. Like, and I feel like it was even more polarizing at the time. I like didn't know if I was gonna buy it. If you're talking to people in the makeup world, in the retail space, for the most part, the people who work in retail makeup, I'm not saying this is the case for all, there's probably plenty of people who are working in makeup in the retail space, but the conversations are like different. And I just remember people telling me not to use it at the time, because I feel like there was a time where I was like, I really want to try that because I like Milk. I like that they have the Buffy lipstick. So I'm assuming it's a dense silicone primer, which I don't actually like those kind of primers much anymore. Like, I think they have a time and a place if you're really looking for like perfect skin. I think that that's like something that they can do, but I always feel like those are the ones that are most likely to pill. Like, when I'm thinking about this like through my eyes today, like, would this product be relevant? No. This is like one of those things, it didn't become a classic, and I feel like the silicone primers that most people use are like things that have been around forever. I'm thinking of Professional. Like, the people who like Professional, they love Professional. They're gonna use Professional. And then there's like the people who use the Tarte Timeless Smoothing Primer. Like, there's devotees to that. If it was still around, Becca's Ever Matte Poreless Primer, which I did use for a long time. Silicone primers are like not released like this anymore. They're a little more sneaky. And I guess like I did just try that Huda Blur Primer, which was silicone free, but like supposed to do the same thing. And it like didn't really do the same thing that a silicone primer would, but it was okay primer. But just saying, like, I just don't know that this product would be really relevant. And then on someone's worst list was another product from Milk, and I just wanted to talk about it because I had one of these. Was it cream eye pigments? They were like in the squeezy tube. I loved this, and I was so surprised. It was Laura Lee, I think, had it in her worst of 2017 video. I don't think they make these anymore. I think they got rid of these and then it came out with the chalk. I don't think they're actually made of chalk, but they look like chalk. They had the paper wrap. I never tried one of those, but this was actually pretty good. I have pretty oily eyelids, and this stayed on my eyelids. It was hard to get off though, and I will say that. I can't recall if it stained, but I think it did, and it left my eye pink. Normally blues will stain my eye pink. I don't know what that's about, but normally if I wear a blue eyeshadow that's like intensely pigmented, it doesn't stain blue, it stains pink. So I had this, and I remember really liking it, and I think I don't know. I always wanted to buy more of them because I really liked them, because they were kind of sparkly. Obviously, like, the way I wear my eyeshadow now is very different. I was definitely much more into like bold, impactful things. What was hard about them is if you didn't wear them by themselves, trying to put them on top of powder eyeshadows and things like that was always very difficult to do. But I think there is a world if like Milk could modernize this formula and make it maybe a little easier to blend and not dry down so fast, because like that's also something that's clicking in my brain. Is like I feel like it dried pretty quickly whenever you put it down on your lid. I think I was trying to use it for graphic liner. It was pretty good for that, but it wasn't made for that, so it was kind of harder to do. I think that there's like a market for something similar to this now. Maybe if they released it as like made it like a more of like an eyeliner formula or like a graphic liner. I know we're kind of like more open to the idea of liquid eyeshadows now than we were then, but these were more like creams. Like, they came out like toothpaste. Just, I see a world where this works now, because people my age and my demo, a lot of people who watch my channel are very into like one and done kind of eyeshadows. And I think if Milk, because these were really colorful, I think if they made some considered neutral, nudie, what people view as nudie, like beigey pinks, you know, kind of for all skin depths, because Milk is usually pretty good about that. Like, just like kind of very easy stuff, shimmery things to like tap on the lid. If they did that, I think that would be successful for them. Like I was saying at the beginning of this whole Milk rant, talking about Milk products, I don't know what their destination is right now. I feel like they got rid of their like sunshine skin tint, and so they came out with the current tint, which is, in my opinion, of like a medium full coverage foundation. It's not really a tint, so it's a little bit of a confusing product for me. I don't know who the creative director is. Like, if you go look at a Milk display, like if you go to a Sephora, I know they sell at Ulta, but I don't know if they're like in Ulta. I don't shop a lot in Ulta. Like, if I'm gonna go into one, I'm gonna go into Sephora. But like, okay, in front of a Milk makeup display, and you like pan it, what's the vibe? When you go to Too Faced and you like pan Too Faced, you're like, I know what Too Faced is. But when you look at Milk, you're like, okay, it's like skin tints, and then there's like this ultra matte primer, and then there's like glowy primer, and there's like the hydro grip primer, and then it's like, that's all very specific. Then you have these tints, and you're like, okay, and then they have like the jelly blushes. Those feel, to me, like different makeup aesthetics, and obviously you can have different offerings, but there's like no cohesive vision. But like when you go to like an Ilia display, you're like, oh, this is like clean makeup that's supposed to be very easy to wear. I understand it. And like Milk is just kind of like all over the place, and it's like really hard to like nail down like what they're doing. Call me. I actually don't have ideas. That was the idea. Make it all make sense together, because it doesn't right now. Huda released the Faux Filter Foundation this year. I want to talk about scented products. That product was so perfumey, and eventually they did start to formulate with unscented. Actually, the thing about their powder, there's like, I think there's unscented versions and scented versions still. And I actually feel like Lauren May Beauty released that 2-hour long review video, and she bought the unscented one, and she was like, it doesn't work the same as the scented one, and like that's all very confusing to me, and I don't quite understand that. This foundation was full coverage. It was spackle. It was face. It was like pink, crazy foundation. Now, I took a sample of this home when I worked at Sephora, and that's one thing I miss about working at Sephora is like finding a friend that works at Sephora. I'm like, can you make a test? Like, can you make a sample of this for me? Because you weren't allowed to do it yourself at the time. I don't know what their rules are now. And just be like, I want to try that. And it looked really beautiful on my skin, but it was so scented that I like didn't really love that. And again, there are scented products that I use now that I like don't really have that problem with. It was just like scented, and it sustained the scent on my face, and I was like, it was a full coverage foundation, and it set well on my skin, but my skin was different almost 10 years ago. I don't know if I like tried the Huda Faux Filter foundation now, if I would like it as much. Although I feel like a year or so ago, Andromeda sent me one, and I tried it, and I was like, it's still pretty good. Still not the foundation that I'm gonna wear, but it was still pretty good. It's just interesting, just the idea of someone coming out with like committing to the idea of releasing a full coverage foundation now is kind of crazy, because everyone now wants to be like right down the middle. They're like, we're not sheer, but we're not full coverage. And that's actually not very helpful, because there are products like this, I keep using skin tints as an example, but like we need to really we need to get together and talk about what a tint means. Like, what is the definition of tint? If you are making a skin tint, like if the goal is you're making a tint and your product is not just tinting my skin, then we've run, that's not a tint anymore. That's either a light or medium coverage foundation. A lot of the things that are coming out now, like they're just like labeled wrong. So could you imagine if someone came out, they were like, this is a full coverage foundation? I just like, brands wouldn't really do that. There's that L'Oreal thing that people are talking about right now. So maybe this would be, maybe we're swinging back around to full coverage. I've talked about this before, maybe not, I'm not sure on my channel, but there's still trends, but I feel like we are kind of post-trend. No matter what kind of cut of denim is currently stylish, so like whatever kind of jean style is currently stylish, there are still brands that sell other cuts of jeans, whereas like I feel like when I was younger that wasn't the case. Like as soon as boot cut jeans were out of style, like brands just weren't making boot cut jeans anymore. But like now I feel like you can go anywhere that sells denim and like find a cut that you like. We're now at this place where like someone could release a full coverage foundation, but that wouldn't be an indicator that like all of the makeup brands would automatically switch to that, because I find that the makeup brands are like kind of sticking to their niches a little bit more than they were in this 2017 era. Huda released this full coverage foundation when everyone else was releasing full coverage foundation. I don't know that that's like what we do in the makeup world anymore. It's actually really confusing to think about makeup marketing now versus like 10 years ago. I also want to shout out the Ofra Nikki Tutorials highlighters. These were very popular, very blinding. Ofra, not a brand that I would buy from, not a brand I would recommend you to buy from at this time, but that was a very popular thing. A lot of people had them at the end of the year. I also saw someone mention farsali. Remember they went away and then they came back? Have they done anything since they've come back? Are they still back, or did they go away again? Farsali was really well known for like those face drop oils, which like everything had to be for Instagram at the time. Viral on Instagram, which was like interesting because it's like it was always like a picture of someone with like oil dropping down their face. Luxury. Oil dripping down. Look at the oil dripping down their face. Luxury. These are really expensive, but if I recall correctly, this is off the dome, they were just like basic oils that you could probably buy much cheaper, which arguably like most makeup, like especially if you're buying like luxury high-end makeup, there's like cheaper versions of it, but it was just like facial oil. Like the allure of using an expensive facial oil was very funny, because someone was talking about the jelly beam highlighter, and I feel like that was like viral. Everything had to look interesting, which I guess Milk capitalized on last year with the jelly blushes. I guess we're still into that. We're still into like jelly things. I was grossed out by it at the time. I'm still grossed out by it. The Marc Jacobs Tantastic bronzer was talked about a couple of times. I'm not sure it was released in that year, but people were talking about it. And I'm not sure if Marc Jacobs was the reason that this happened or if Tom Ford was the reason that this happened. But all of a sudden, like bronzers in packaging that was like the size of your head became very popular. And so I'm glad we kind of grew out of that. We all realized we're like, maybe we don't need 20 grams of bronzer. Like maybe we can calm down. People who were alive at this time, do you remember whenever like the goal was for cell phones to be smaller but still as effective as like a big cell phone, like a normal size cell phone? And now cell phones are slowly morphing into tablets, and it's like, remember when we wanted everything to be small? I feel like Marc Jacobs or Tom Ford were like, what if we made makeup bigger? And I guess P. Louise is still running with that, but I don't think that we all think that. There's a fine line that brands walk whenever they like decide how much product to put in something, where people are either satisfied or dissatisfied. I think we can all agree it's like something too big and bulky is like no one's dream, because it's just like, where am I putting it? I don't want that. I've been talking for a really long time and I don't feel like I've been sticking to the plan here. But I have a couple more things I would like to talk about. The Stila Magnificent Metals. Oh, girl, if you were there, you know that these were the moment. I bought one, and the only one that I could find in stock, because these were so popular, was the black one with the gold shimmer in it. It was really pretty. I remember being so annoyed by them because people were so excited about them. And at that time, I was using a lot of like loose glitter with like glitter glue. I was really into like lit cosmetics glitters. So like that was what I was really using as like my glitters. So whenever these came out, and like the way that people talked about them, they were like raving. They were like, glitter made easy. And I was like, glitter is like not that hard, especially if you really want the look of glitter. The key to having something that looks glittery, and like not everyone like gets this, it's like you need different sized particles, and they need to, like, when you apply them, kind of be layered. I know that they had the glitter and glow, and I don't think those were as popular, but the metals were also kind of glittery. People were so excited about them being easy, and I just remember them being like not what I wanted them to be. I was better at using loose glitter with glitter glue than these. I think we're always like, there's always an attraction and allure to something sparkly that is easy to use, because a lot of times with sparkle and glitter and stuff, like fallout, just like what's the fallout situation gonna be like? So it's like, oh, this, you swipe it on your eye, you're good to tap it out a little bit to blend out the edges, you're good to go. I think that's something that I constantly was running into at the time, was like I was always trying to like put these like sparkly liquid things on top of powder eyeshadows, and I'm just not sure that that always works. Sometimes it can work, but like that was what I was trying to do, and putting it on the bare lids is just like a game over for me, because my eyelids are so oily that you're just gonna eat up anything, especially something as thin as these were. But another problem with them being as thin as they were is like they dried out pretty quickly. I feel like the next year, at the end of the year, when people were doing declutters, they were like opening their metals and they were like, these are already dried out. And those things were expensive. I mean, how much are they now? How much were these? Because I remember at the time thinking that they were expensive. Do they still sell these? I think they do. The glitter and glows are $25. Why do I remember these being $30? Like in my head, these were like $30, which $25 isn't off $30. But at the time, I remember thinking that they were so expensive. Maybe they haven't had a price increase. I think I also had like a mermaid one, which might have been a glitter and glow. That was like a duochrome purpley blue. It was very mermaid. We were very into mermaid makeup at the time. Maybe that was 2018. Was that when we were doing unicorn again? I haven't done a 2018 video yet. This never had the allure to me, which like I was kind of interested in them, but I was definitely more interested in doing like glitters. But I do feel like this trend is happening now. There are products that are coming out now that remind me of like the way that these were perceived. A good current example are the Marc's eyeshadow sticks. We're always looking for like an easy way to put on sparkly things. I fractal freesia on my eyelids from Phytosurgeons today, but like that is also like a really easy way to like just tap on shimmer, or it already has like an adhesive to it. I mean, I think I get some fallout with them, but my fractal freesia is kind of old. I will give it a pass for that. It's literally magic sticks, went viral last year. It's like people really want shimmer, but they want it to be presented to them as like easy. I do feel like loose glitter is like, a lot of people aren't really doing loose glitter on their eyes unless you're like doing a drag, or you perform and like you're, you know, in front of like big lights. There's a direct connection to the Stila Magnificent Metals to like the Marc's sparkly eyeshadow sticks that just came out. I love to do that when I have nails on. I also realized that when I point with nails on, I don't just do this. I do the Victoria Beckham like pinky out as well. Oh, where's the mascara? It's over there. Subculture. Subculture? Anyone? Subculture? I feel like up until recently, I've been really against the makeup trends. So when I was really getting into makeup, I still love cool tones. I still prefer cool tones. Although today I feel like I'm going down the middle. I'm on the side of warm, which is why I wear gold earrings, but I don't think my look is like too warm. I feel like we're like very in the neutral zone with my makeup look today. If you watched any of my other videos, you know I love cool tones. I love cool tones. Sister loves a cool tone. Whenever like makeup was like, a lot of the major brands were releasing these like warm reds and oranges and calling it neutral, I was like, that's not for me. Like, I don't want any of that. Like, I think they're beautiful. Like, I think they're really beautiful. And I'm like happy that a lot of people like were really attracted to that worked on their undertones. Like, but I always felt like I was fighting an uphill battle whenever like that was happening. It's like everything is so warm. And it's a complaint I still have to this day. I think a lot of brands still favor like warmer undertones in their stuff.
stuff, even if what they're presenting is neutral. It's normally like a neutral warm. Anyway, I was so into cool tones, and I didn't have Modern Renaissance, but when Subculture was released, I was like, that looks so pretty. If you weren't there, wow, how lucky are you? This was a whole mess. The whole launch of this was such a disaster. There was a whole thing with like you either got the good batch or the bad batch or the bad, but like people were getting it in PR and really reviewing it poorly. I think Alyssa Ashley was the first person who spoke up and was like, this is bad. And then once she broke the seal, everyone else was like, yeah, this is pretty bad. People were having issues with it blending and whatever. And then Norvina kind of came out and was like, if you can't make this work, you are bad at eyeshadow. You just clearly don't understand color theory. We have a lot of colors on here that are on opposite sides of the color wheel. And if you blend them together, they're going to make gray. You have to be smart about how you're applying this eyeshadow. Real makeup artists will know what to do. And then people were like, that's really fucked up. This is not the same formula as your Modern Renaissance formula that came out last year that was so beautiful that everyone loved. What happened? And it turned, so then they like, and so there was I personally, I don't think that the batches mattered because I got the good one and it was still really powdery. And if I didn't use it correctly, I think it would have performed the same way that the people who said that they got the old batch. Like, I'm not buying into that theory. I know that people did like testing of the new and old formula. It was such a catastrophe. Like, if you look up APH subculture, like if you weren't there, like if you don't know what I'm talking about, there are so many drama videos of the era. I don't know if a lot of these people still have their videos up, but like I think Alyssa Ashley was a bit like, it was the first one who talked about it, but not her, not Alyssa, but who's the woman in the woods in the cult now? Christy. Yeah, she also, I feel like, did a whole video on it, but don't watch her videos. Stephanie Nicole did one. She could be wretched at times, but I feel like her review was like, this is bad, but she explains like why it's bad in her subculture video. Anyway, there's so much, like, I'm sure there's a here for the tea video. I have to say, I think that was like one of the biggest, most catastrophic fails we've seen from like a launch, maybe besides the Jaclyn Hill lipsticks, which I'm sure we'll get into at a later date. However, I did have this palette and I had it for a really long time. I think I let it go a couple of years ago just from like age, and you could tell it was age. The shimmers in this palette were known to hard pan, but there were like a couple like duochrome shades, and there was like this one gold shade that was like much smoother than that one didn't feel as like hard panny as like the two like duochrome toppers. I loved this palette. I love this palette. I was like ready for it and it felt like it delivered. And I think I had the new batch, but it still was something I had to be careful about, like the way I applied it. Like it was like there was good times, there was bad times with it. It was a challenging color story, and I feel like the failure of this also got pinned on the color story, and I feel like it took a really long time for like those grungy tones to come into vogue after the failure of this. I know that indie brands were still kind of like doing that sort of thing, but like I feel like now mainstream brands are like more okay with like allowing like grungy things in, but I really do think subculture like messed up us having some cooler makeup launches in the mainstream market because of how catastrophic this went for APH. Like this was not good. It was really bad. But I loved my subculture palette, and whenever I let go of it, it wasn't like a fun thing for me. I was like, I'm really sad that she has to go. I think I have makeup that is just that old that I still actively use. It wasn't like molding or anything. It was just like, it wasn't performing the same, and it was like already not something that performed very well to begin with, but I really loved that palette. I really did. I miss it. I've tried to like fill the gap with some other indie palettes. I think right now, the one I have right now that would be like a similar vibe is like the Poop palette, the Tones of Turd palette from Glaminatrix. It has like the green yucky yellows, but it doesn't have like the maroons, which were like the like fun flip side, the purple maroons. Anyway, love that palette. And then finally, I think the biggest thing that happened in makeup in 2017 was the launch of Fenty Beauty. The most impressive part of Fenty Beauty was the foundation shade range, and they released their kilowatt highlighters, which were really on trend. They had the matchsticks. They released this, it was like a fully thought out range, and I was part of, like, you know, I was there in the era. I tried some Fenty Beauty stuff in the era. Also, I was going to buy a foundation the one day. My future coworker, I wasn't co-workers with them at the time, was like, told me I was going to buy a foundation, and they were like, something's coming. You should wait. Just give it a couple months. Or like maybe it was just like a month away. And I was like, okay. And that was like when Fenty came out. And that foundation, the highlighters, now their range is so fleshed out. And what really changed the game was like their offering. There was just not foundations that deep in Sephora's at the time, which is a shame. And it really expanded the offerings for people who had different complexions, even fair complexions. I feel like we all like know and acknowledge that like deeper skin tones are often not catered to. And I'm not here complaining that lighter skin tones are never catered to, but like a lot of times, like on the lighter side, they always play to like that middle range. Like super fair is not often catered to, but I also feel like in more recent years we have been seeing more offerings for like very fair people. So like they catered to like everyone, and it was just like really great and exciting, and they released like these really fun highlighters. Like Trophy Wife is iconic. Do people still use Trophy Wife? I feel like there was like for years after Trophy Wife, like after the launch, there was always some kind of like offshoot of Trophy Wife that happened. I feel like they don't do that as much anymore. The lip gloss, the Fenty Glow lip gloss, I love that lip gloss. I think I finished 2 or 3 of them in my time. I have a couple Fenty lip formulas right now, but neither one of them are the lip gloss. I have the Gloss Bomb Stick, which is not over here, and I also have the lip oil, which I don't love the lip oil. I should get one of the lip glosses again to try. Well, I don't need to do that right now. I have like a ton of lip products. Anyway, but like Fenty was like so iconic. But something that I do want to note is that they didn't launch with eyeshadows. And I don't think they came out with an eyeshadow until that holiday season. I think it launched in like August, September, if I'm like remembering correctly. That was when Fenty launched in 2017. And then like they released the eyeshadow palette and no one cared about their eyeshadow palettes. And I feel like that's like a continued trend for Fenty, because they released eventually those like eyeshadows that like stuck together, like, and it was like a really confusing, convoluted system that they were doing. All that being said, Fenty was like incredible, and I have said in the recent past and in the last couple of years that I feel like Fenty is like falling off the wagon. It's almost as if you offer too much at the beginning. It's like, what can you impress us with in the future? They've obviously like iterated and released things, and it seems like they seem to understand and like listen to their consumers too, and like provide something. You can't deny how important like the launch of Fenty Beauty was, because they set a standard that other brands would have to follow at their launch. And I think if we didn't have Fenty Beauty, would Rare Beauty look the way it did when it launched? You have to have it all. You know, whenever you launch, like you have to have enough to offer to everyone. Otherwise, no one's going to pay attention to you, and for good reason, good riddance. Like if you're not going to. I also feel like Fenty's on the comeback. Not that Fenty, so I feel like for a lot of people, Fenty never fell off, and like Fenty is a lot of people's favorite brand, and that's really cool. But I feel like they've been doing some cool stuff. That Diamond Bomb collection that they just released, you know I want it. I'm not gonna get it, but you know I want it. I want it. That's all of that looks right up my alley. There's a Diamond Bomb lip gloss balm stick. And how many carats? I don't need it because I have other silver sparkly things, but I want it. And I like that formula, but I'm not gonna buy it. But I'm not gonna buy. A call back to Kimberly Clark, who we talked about in the 2016 episode. I don't know that I did a really good job in this one, but I also feel like whenever I was looking up stuff that came out this year, it was much less consistent. Subculture was on everyone's worst list, but like, I think this was also whenever the boom started happening, there was like more offerings. Like, so like a lot more brands were putting out a lot more stuff. There were a lot more brands like coming into the market because I saw how much money they can make in the makeup industry. So like, I feel like this is like the bubble starting to bubble, right? Like there's a lot more stuff. And so it was not really consistent across the board, people's favorites and fails. Whereas like, I feel like at the end of 2016, when I was doing research in that, there was like really consistent. People were like, this was a favorite, this was a favorite, this was a favorite. It is an interesting development in this series that is very slowly, you know, being added to on my channel. So we'll see how 2018 goes. And I do want to go watch the end of Kelly Gooch's video. I will link her video down below. I haven't watched it all yet, but I'm curious. And I also was deciding to do this around the time that she did that video. So, you know, I didn't want to like spoil myself too much. Anyway, that's it. If you're not yet subscribed, please subscribe. Remember to check out the pinned comment to support people directly in Gaza. I'm on Patreon and I have channel memberships. You can check that out, link down below. It's just a different way to support me, not necessarily a better way to support me. I'm just so happy that you are here. I think that's everything. Sometimes I forget stuff. I don't know that I will have this makeup link down below because I did it and then I put it all away and I forget what I forget what I'm wearing. So sorry. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. Remember to follow your hope and you'll find me. And I'll see you in a video very soon. Go forth. It's out.